wrap. Okay, let's throw in the headphones and call this a gig. Okay, so, can you hear me here? Okay, great. Welcome to Eternal Summer. This is the masterclass that helps you live life like every day is a vacation. And so for whatever reason, whatever your reason is for being here, supporting me, and also bringing your life into this, I am so excited to have you here. And we're just in this room, in this portal, we're just going to step in and bring in this vacation-like energy. Like I'll start off with just bring yourself, like tap into a few words, and I would just love to hear what words are coming up for you around what vacation feels like and what that sensation really is for you that really sets you free and allows you to really explore and expand yourself. Personally, for me, like one of those feelings is definitely freedom. It's definitely exploration. It's definitely curiosity. It's definitely connection. And so just feel free to drop into the chat whatever is coming up for you around freshness. I love that one. Around what vacation really feels like for you. And so a lot of this sensation that we're talking about with making every day feel like it's a vacation really comes back to the feelings that we harness in. Like we're going through spontaneity, yes. We're going through, regardless of whatever we're doing in the world, chances are we're probably still going to be working. We're going to be contributing to society in some way. We're going to be creating something. And there's actually a really beautiful thing of being part of society and interacting with people and creating and bringing more things to life. So a lot of times when we're actually looking at living like it's a vacation every day, we're not looking at doing less. We're just looking at bringing ourselves into alignment and into alignment with these feelings that we are really like, oh, on vacation, I feel this way. I feel really free. I feel really fresh, really spontaneous, really free in these different ways. And it's these emotions that we feel in our body when we go on trips, when we go to new places, when we meet new people, where we're like, wow, you were a breath of fresh air. This felt like a little mini vacation by chatting with you. And it's moments like that that we like to harness into our world, and we want to amplify more of those moments into our reality. So that is the framework of what we're going to be carrying, the mindset of what we're going to be carrying for this next hour, is really bringing that feeling to life. And we'll start weaving it through the different things that we physically do, so that you can start to see how your mind can start to perceive different things as feeling like it's on vacation. So where are we going here? Next step is within this feeling of creating the vacation-like vibe. When we're dropping in the words, oh, Julie, I missed yours too. Freedom, adventure, possibilities, new experiences. Yes, the novelty that we're tapping into. So when we're tapping into these feelings, what we're really trying to bring about is we're in one of three situations. And we could have a blend of these situations around the dream, the vacation. It's like we all want to feel these desired feelings, but a lot of times we don't actually know where we are in the journey. And so I'm going to throughout this course, I'm going to break down three different aspects of where you could be in terms of creating the dream and bringing the dream to life. And then three solutions that would be unique to each of those situations. But before we get into that, we have to bring a little bit more context into what we're actually learning and refine our eye and our mind around actually learning. So I find that a lot of the aspect of feeling like you're on vacation is this aspect of you're still learning, you're still growing, and you're interacting with the world, but it's not in the traditional ways that we've been taught in school around what it means to really learn and grow. And this comes back to the how versus the why. So the why is more of the feeling, the purpose, the intention that we're infusing into something. So even if it's the why, when I ask like what feelings you would love to feel, that goes back to the emotional aspect for yourself. You can feel the emotions that come up with the sense of freedom, spontaneity, novelty, and beyond. You can feel really how you come more into alignment when you're in these feelings. And this connects you back to your why. It's why are you actually working towards getting onto this track? Why are you motivated to be able to feel this way in a different light? Why do you want to create in the world? And so in school, they teach you all the hows. Go read the textbook. Go memorize the facts. How did this battle happen? How do you do these things? And in school, we're taught to just regurgitate it back. Learn it, spit it out, write it on the test, move on to the next chapter. And so I see there's this disconnect with learning and taking in information, where right now we're in the information era where there's all the information that we have access to. Yet if we still see the world as information, then we're not interacting with it at this like rich level that really brings this ease and alignment and connection to really the vacation like vibe, the expansion vibe, the aspect of like when I meet someone, I'm meant to meet them. It's not a homework assignment. It's not on the test. I am here. I'm alive. I'm on a mission. And so when we go back to the how and the why, in this session, I'm going to be using information. I'm going to be talking a little bit about like how the universe really, like how the universe works, how energy interacts together. And so we're going to use the how. We're going to also use the hows in terms of how reality is created, how we can bring these realities to life, but seeing the how as one of the tools to be able to bring the why to life. So the difference here is we're not learning the hows just to be able to cram information in, but we're really trying to learn the hows to be able to integrate it into our body and then align it to the life that we want, the life that we desire to live. So there is a difference, and does that land in terms of the how versus the why? Yeah, okay, good. Because this is like, I find this is very integral to switching how we actually operate and consume information. And therefore certain things will flow out and certain things will stay, but this is the fundamental aspect where we get to look through the filter of life and figure out how we play. So the next aspect around as you guys wrote in your feelings around what you feel and what you desire to feel, the reason I went for feelings is because the actual structure of like, if you ask someone, what do you desire to do? What do you desire? Like, I'll bring you back to me being in the corporate world. 3 years ago, when I was sitting in my corporate engineering desk, typing away, not in enjoyment, but typing away, I would sit there and I would say, I don't even know what I want, but all I know is I don't want this. I need to get out of here. I need to feel more freedom. I need to feel more expansion. I need to feel more play. And I didn't know what I really desired. All I knew is I wanted to try more things. I wanted to try more iterations. And I knew that I just had to get out into the world and try new things. So this aspect comes up where it's like, there is no set right dream or wrong dream. The dreams don't stay set because we're in a world that's constantly shifting. And so this notion, even like when you go back to 5 years old, what would you like to be when you grow up? I'd like to be a firefighter, an astronaut. Well, we throw these names out there because we're like, We read a book, we know these things. As a child, you only know like this small degree of things. Yet think of how many people say, oh, I said that, and this was my dream. Or even a lot of medical students, because it's a medical schooling is a very long time. It's like, it was my dream to be a doctor when I was 10, when I was 12, when I was 15. Yet sometimes we go on the course and we discover different things and the dream shift. But the question is, do we hold on to that dream when we say we've grown out of alignment with it? Do we stay on that wrong track? Or do we allow ourselves to course correct? Yes, Charlotte.
Would you say that the difference between the why and the how, like another way to define the how could be like the societal shoulds and expectations? Or are you thinking of how as just like the process of arriving at something? I guess the reason I'm asking that too is thinking about you sitting at your corporate desk and feeling like, I know that there's something more, but I don't know exactly what that is. Did you need to connect to your why before you were able to even imagine what other hows could be?
Yeah, yes, that's a really, really great point. And the how definitely, the how can be something that we hold so intellectual that if we don't allow it to sync, to connect with the why, that it's like you're driving on two opposite roads and you're like, how logically, like you were saying, like sitting at the corporate desk being like, I should be happy, I should be on this path, this is success, this is stability, and this still has growth, but it doesn't connect with the why, and therefore we feel like we're on this, like we're on two different roads. Like the soul, the gut says, I want to go here, but society and our goals that we've grown out of put us here. And so it's bringing ourselves back in as like the world is constantly expanding and possibilities are constantly expanding and we are experiencing different things that we then get to be our creators and be like, okay, course correcting is normal. It's healthy. It's actually healthy for my soul. And a lot of times when people are fearful of course correcting, it's that they're so rigid in the logical hows.
Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense.
Great question. That was a really good tie-in. See, that the hows and the whys are so fundamental. Wilson, I see you just hopped in. If you want to just drop into the chat what it feels like for you to be in dream vacation land. That's just a fundamental aspect of where we are connecting back to today. Okay, so as reality is constantly forming, we are getting to form with it. And so part of it is like when I'm sitting down at my desk in the corporate world saying, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. And so for me, I knew that the first step was really just, I had to get out of there. And that's not everyone's type of thing. But for me, I was in a state where I was like, I just know that I believe in myself enough. I'm going to test the resiliency level and see where I can go. So let's start to explore more of the hows, more of the different things that people are doing in the world, so I can start to expand my menu of possibilities. And so it also helps us then start to emotionally detach or create a softening to what we think we have to do and where we think we have to go. When we are able to actually say like, okay, I'm expanding to more. My identity of myself can shift and mold just like just like everything around me does. Nothing's stable. We can see in the world how COVID has shifted everything and it's flipped at 180. So it's the same thing with us where it's like we're constantly shifting and evolving. And therefore there are all these different options that are constantly coming on the table for us to be like, hey, do you want to explore me today? Hey, where do you want to go? So it's this notion that, remember, we're in a world full of limitless options. And the more that we get to interact with life and interact with the world, the more options it gives us and it invites us. It invites us to say, hey, do you want to play with me today? Hey, there's this person, there's that person, there's that flavor, there's all these different options. What do you really desire? And so part of all of the different options of life where I was at that point, it brings me up to the first aspect, the first type of person that would be trying to explore more of this vacation-like vibe. It is the person who was my past self sitting at the corporate desk saying, I don't know what this looks like at all. I don't know what this dream looks like, but I have to go out and try more. And so that person for me was someone who really needed to sculpt the vision. It's like, I'm a diamond in the rough. You might not even be able to recognize me as a diamond, but I need to just go out there and sculpt. And I need more options, I need to expand my menu of life to see what else is out there. And so it's by going out into the world that we get to push the comfort zone, that we get to challenge and be like, maybe I desire vanilla today, maybe chocolate. Maybe someone's coming into my path that is inviting me to go into a different realm, like that is inviting me to go on another way. Maybe 4 people have come into my world that are all marketing. Maybe this is a sign of something, or maybe I should be more curious in this way. And so one aspect with not knowing the different options of life is I like to look at what is directly ahead of me. And so in this time frame where I was just like, I'm a child right now, walking into a candy store, wanting to understand what else is out there. What else is out there directly in front of me are people, stories, YouTube videos, like things that catch my attention. And so in this state, I really, if you feel like you're like, I don't even know what I know, like I don't even know what I want, there's just so many unknowns, I would start with the first step of looking and noticing where your attention goes. Notice to see what's directly in your path, who's in your path, what type of things you like are really magnetized and attracted to. Who are you most inspired by? All of these little things are the things that sit directly in our attention zone. And it's almost like they're like sitting there as like little tree branches or little plants, like just sitting there, taking up space, but also saying, hey, I live here and I'm meant to be explored and I'm meant to be played with. Do you want to play with me? It's one of the invitations of life to say, where are we going to go? Where do you want to go next? We can go down any road, but you just have to move somewhere. We're just literally inviting you to go out into the world and be like, ooh, do I desire that flavor? And maybe when you're trying out your flavors, you might try one day chocolate, and you might try another day like dill pickle. And another day you might try like armpit flavor. And you're like, I could really go for the first 2, but like armpit flavor, really? Why did that one come up? And so it's when we're navigating the menu of life, we're able to order everything off of there. And sometimes we get bad flavors that we don't like. And the flavors that we don't like actually help us mold the whole vision. As we're trying new things, our curiosity goes there and says, hey, we're giving you this sensation, this feeling, this person in your path for whatever reason. Go explore it. You might learn something, you might like it, you might not. If you get a no, that also unlocks other yeses in your world, because you're like, no, I don't want armpit. Instead, I would really love chocolate and cookies and cream, please. Please, I've been there, done that. No more armpit for me. So the more that we get to taste different flavors, we get to really refine our vision. And the different refinements allow us to be clearer and get deeper into alignment, where our why and our hows get to meet together. And so in this state, tying into the flavors, how do you actually unlock other flavors? That's where curiosity is your greatest gift. And so I I'm very bold and passionate about my curiosity. And one of the greatest things is around that I love to use is curiosity questions. And so I find that curiosity is like one of those muscles that we constantly have to relearn to flex, relearn to strengthen. And so one of those ways of really getting out into the world is to start by strengthening your curiosity and asking more questions. Asking more questions to actually notice what's on your mind. It's like you're pulling from the subconscious to be like, hey, I know there's more thoughts there. I know thoughts are flowing there without me even realizing it, but I actually need to journal these things out and explore these thoughts a little more because they're all there. My curiosities all live within me, but I'm just letting these things slip by me. And the more that they just slip by, the more that I'm like, what's actually going on behind the scenes within me? And so I find curiosity is a really great tool where we get to really bring the why and the how together, because with curiosity, you're literally saying, hey, how does the sky work? Like, how does the sunset work? How do colors work in the world? Why am I magnetized to this person? Why does white look so beautiful? You're asking more questions that usually contain more information, and you just have to ask the questions, because oftentimes the answers that really matter will come to you. And if they don't come to you and they're like still in your mind, go research them, go find more. But the whole idea with curiosity questions and really strengthening this muscle is you are actively seeking more. You're saying, I care about this life, I care about my world, I care about something else. I'm strengthening this muscle to be like, hey, come to me, trust me, like, this is good for me. And so the more that we get to interact with life, the more it interacts with us. And therefore it's like we're energy taming. We're speaking to the energy and saying, hey, come to me. It's good here. And so we start to unlock more curiosities, we start to refine the vision, we start to get more in alignment with ourselves, which is how the hows bring us directly to the whys, and we get to move forward on one path together. And we're starting still weaving the path where you're still like, you're on the path, you're like, oh, I think I know what this flavor is. I can ask more questions, I can be more intimate with myself and with my curiosities, but there's still more things out there. And so we start refining the vision more and more. And tying back to it, as we start to refine the vision more and more, think about it, your 5-year-old self who said, I want to be an astronaut. She would not have been able to ask any of those questions that you asked today. She would not be able to even ask the question around like, how do colors interact in the world? Like, why do thoughts process the way that they do? How is reality created? She wouldn't know to ask these questions. And so the more questions we ask, the more information we have, the better questions we ask, and the more specific we get to ask with the world. So I hope you can notice that like what we're doing is we're strengthening that muscle, the muscle of interaction, where we start to get more specific and we start to dial in. And so that's why we start with the first thing where it's like, we're the raw diamond trying to figure out the way, try to actually take form to be a diamond. And so we really have to start to strengthen that muscle around curiosity. It's about how we see the world. There's limitless possibilities. Where do you want to play? So with that being said, even nowadays, my 28-year-old self doesn't know where my 33-year-old self or even my 29-year-old self will be. So it's noticing that as more questions come in, we can move down certain paths, but we can also allow ourselves to course correct as needed. So as we strive closer to these goals, it's us seeing, and we ask more curiosity questions, we get to unlock more levels of the menu of life and more layers that we get to be in. Everything landing? Everything good? Okay, great. So This layers into a bit about attention. And so now we're getting into the second layer, the second type of person, which is part of sculpting the vision and the mindset around being on vacation. And so this mindset comes back to this said person who, for me, I'll bring you on the journey of where I was in this point. So once I had quit corporate, I decided, let's just move over to Bali. Let's go there for a month, and then let's get over here and actually realize life's pretty good over here. So let's stay. And the fun part here was I got to chat with more people, got to see what other people were doing, got to see other lifestyles, and I started to understand what was good for me and what wasn't. I started to learn more, really tapping into the curiosity questions. Moved over to New Zealand, came back to Bali. And it wasn't really until I was back in Bali and I was in my world that I was able to really say, I've seen other options. I've explored different ways. I understand that, for example, New Zealand is a no for me. Living in a van is a no. Living in Bali, living alone is a yes. I like these things. Learning a lot is a yes for me. Making an impact, teaching, connecting with people, yes. Being in soul alignment with me, yes. So as I started to learn the no's, I also saw what more yeses were there because I literally had lived and tasted the flavors of life. I was like, nope, I've had far too many armpit and sewage flavors for my life, or for that side of things. Give me more cookies and cream and cookie dough and rainbow sherbet, please. Thank you. And that's really what Bali was for me, where it was just like all these pleasurable experiences and random things thrown in between, where I really got to refine the process. And so that's where step number 2 comes in. And that's really bringing things to reality. So it's the sculpting of these are no's. Now we get more yeses. And so once we see what the dream is, we're like, I see what the flavor is. I see what I really desire in this moment. I know enough of what I don't like, and I'm going to follow the yeses. So when we start to follow the yeses, we then get to actually take action towards them. And so in the first step, we were using curiosity as a tool. Now over here, we're using courage. Courage, which comes through aligned action and taking steps forward to actually bring the things into reality that we desire. So for this, I use something that I like to call curiosity challenges. And so it's where we literally get to invite ourselves to take those questions, move them into action, and challenge ourselves to do the scary things. The things that terrify us a bit, but we're so curious to know. How does that work? Why does that person like that? Where could I go? And so that's where we get to use our attention, because this is oftentimes stuff that gets really scary. This is where, and this is actually like a really big need in the world right now, is to implement in actions, is to be a critical thinker, critical action taker, and respond with life. It's not what they're teaching you in school. What they taught us in school, perfect. What they taught us in school is to be able to spit information back. You don't need to apply this, but you just need to be able to take in enough information to hold it through for a week to be able to spit it back on a test. And then you can drop it all out. But what we're saying here with curiosity challenges is to actually take the information, take the curiosity that you have, take the how, and apply it to the why. You get to pull on the hat to say, hey, do I like this? Does this fit into the formula of my life? And so these aligned actions bring things to reality. The way that we actually get to start to sculpt this is through looking at what we give our attention to. So breaking down a little bit of the metaphysics of how reality is actually created. In our mind, this is a big curiosity I had for myself when I was deep in the curiosity challenge, the curiosity question mode, is I want to know, how is reality created? So we see that everything around us happens, but there are certain things that just seem so perfectly orchestrated that you're like, I can't explain this. This had to happen before me. This had to happen beyond time. Like time doesn't exist, it all breaks down. And so for moments like these, I really want to know, like, how is reality created that I experience, and how can I actually specifically sculpt it? So the short of it is, in our mind, we obviously have thoughts. We have 4,000 to 7,000 thoughts in a day. I have to fact check that fully, but we have a lot of thoughts. And most of the thoughts are very unconscious, subconscious, or conscious. So they sit on different layers in our mind. The thoughts that we have are the things that start to create ideas. So I like to think of it as like a sandbox. A thought is had, and if you have multiple thoughts around something, that's where they start to magnetize together to be able to create an idea, because they have enough strength. And then once a thought has enough magnetism, enough ideas together, they turn into a collective idea. And then from ideas, they actually turn into reality. So the aspect of our attention is a combination of multiple thoughts that are all sitting in our mind. So if you have one thought, two thought, three thought, four thought, the more thoughts that you think, the more energy that's put behind that, which can actually turn it into reality for us. So this can be a blessing and a curse. This is literally how our worst nightmares are created, is when we continuously think our fears. But it's also how we can create some of the best things in our life. When we start to believe in ourselves, believe in our personal power, believe in our dream. And so when we're using this we're using this information to actually understand reality is created in this way. And so oftentimes when we're going down this road of trying to sculpt our dream day and our dream reality, we're going through a lot of curiosities where we don't actually know what's the right way. And we can doubt ourselves a lot. We can pull ourselves back offline. We can say, nope, I can't do this. Who am I to be the one? But it's when we realize and remember that it comes back to our personal power. It comes back to our mind, our belief system, to say, show me the evidence. What is actually online to show me that I can't be the one? Who am I, the one to say that I don't have the power to be able to bring my dream life online, or to be able to have the business of my dreams, the life of my dreams, the partner of my dreams, all of these things. And so it's when we are at our low points, when we're self-doubting ourselves and we're asking ourselves, what do we have within ourselves? Why are we here? That's where we actually get to make our dream and bring it into alignment. Because the bottom is the point to just say, can you hold the bottom? Because if you can hold the bottom, you can hold the high point. Does that click into place? Is there any clarification around thoughts and reality? I know the metaphysics side of things can sometimes get a little foggy. So if there's anything that comes up, I would love to bring some more clarification there. And so the last option, the next iteration is, once you start to actually bring your reality into, you start to bring more of the yeses in. When you're starting to bring more of the yeses in, really what you're doing is you're seeing and you're believing that there is more light on your path. You're like, I can fit, like in the curiosity question, in the first step, the curiosity questions, you're like, there's all this darkness. And by darkness, there's all this emotion that's just sitting around. You're sitting there being like, what do I actually want? Everything or nothing? And then you go to the next step and you start taking action and moving it along. And what the action is the universe shining a light and saying, there's no dark, there's mostly darkness, but we're literally directing you through the light to say, go this way. And you're actively working with us to be able to create a way. And so we're starting to move with light. And we're like, yes, there's hope, there's lights, there's a path. This is great. This is great. Sometimes I'm tested and I go into the darkness, but remember, there's usually a light. As long as I'm taking action and moving forward, I can find a light. And the light is typically what we love to look for. The light is like reassurance. It's like, yes, I'm on the right path. There's something in the future. This is great. Yet there's also this moment where we have to learn to sit in the silence, to sit in the, I don't know what's going on. There's no direction. There's no light ahead of me. Can I really keep holding this vision? And so I like to think about this in terms of like when you're fishing. You cast the line out, it pops in the water, and you're sitting there waiting. So what were to happen if you were to cast the line out, the lure drops into the water, and then you just reel it right back in? And then you're like, no fish, toss it back in. Did the fish bite yet? Nope. Reel it back in. Do it again. No fish still. Pull it back in. If we do this, what we're doing is we're not giving enough space. We're not giving time. The universe would like look back at us. Yes, the waiting is the hardest part, and it's also where all the magic lives. So like think about the universe watching us being like, you're really gonna cast that lure back in? Haven't you done this for the past 10 times? We like really thought you were good at this. We thought like you're on alignment, you're on path, yet you keep pulling the lure back. Like if you waited 10 more minutes, you would have gotten the fish. And we're like, but you didn't come fast enough. I thought it was on the wrong path. And so it's seeing this and seeing kind of the ridiculousness of us, where it's like, as human beings, one of the greatest skills that we can build is patience and waiting and truly trusting that when we actually cast something out there, it's working. And maybe it's not pulling the lure back in, but instead maybe what the universe is saying is leave that line in the water. You can drop one more in. You can drop one more in, but leave it in the water. Actually allow it to stew. So what would that would look like in real life is, I'll use an example for my life, is when I moved abroad, is I spent a lot of time studying the financial systems and asset classes. And in these asset classes, it's all about timing. The market goes up, the market goes down. But if you keep moving your assets around, sometimes you're like, oh, I should have been in this asset class, but I didn't. And now I sold, and now that went up and that went down. And so the timing gets all funky. So like there was a time that I bought silver bars, I sold silver too soon, everything else took off. I got into other asset classes and option contracts that went down. And so in retrospect, I'm able to look back and be like, if only I was more patient and I just allowed the silver to sit on the side, it would have gone up to here rather than the others that went down to here. And so when the universe says, in the way that I have taken it, you can leave the silver there, but you can start other projects. So leave this in the water and start dropping other things. You've already cast the manifestation out. You've already done your work. Don't overdo it. And so this is where we have to wait, and we have to trust that the work that we've done is in alignment. It is on time. And you have to just get real with yourself of like, using the information, the how connects with the why. The information is telling me, yes, the hardest part is waiting, because it's supporting my why. I've done my research, it's all good. And so this brings us into our third option, which is the refining of the details. And so this connects directly back to the allowing. And so as we're starting to see the light, see the pathways, being like, yes, go here, go there, we also have to start to feel it into our body. Because we can see the pathway and say, I see it, I've led myself here. But then in that moment when everything goes dark, when the lure, the fishing rod is sitting in the water, you're looking around going, do I pull it out? Do I turn around? Do I find another path? It's in this moment that we have to feel it in our body. We have to bring it back to the why that we started off with. When I asked, what does the vacation feeling feel like to you? Connect back to the feeling. Why? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it for freedom? Are you doing it for abundance? Are you doing it for adventure, curiosity, expansion, spaciousness? Whatever it is, we have to come back to the why and ask, is the path being held? Am I in alignment? Did the information come into place with my why? And we have to drop that into the body. We have to go back to the vision to be like, okay, I know it's really uncomfortable for me right now to be able to sit in this boat with all these fishing poles in the water. But my question is this what I really want? Can I still see the dream? Am I still in alignment? And so it's in these moments that we get to integrate in the curiosity of us asking more questions, interacting with the world, which, by the way, we constantly do, regardless of what stage we're at. It's the courage of taking action, which we constantly do once we start to flex that muscle and we're like, yes, this is a machine that is moving. We are good, we are confident, we can try other things. And all in the same time, we're feeling it in our body to say, can we hold the vision? Is it in alignment? Or else it's just like the 5-year-old saying, I want to be an astronaut at the age of 28, at the age of 50, saying, I actually didn't want that. That was only 5-year-old me that wanted it. And then you ask the 50-year-old, why'd you do it? Well, when I was 5 years old. So we go back to the feeling. We say the world is constantly shifting and evolving. I'm constantly shifting and evolving. Does this still hold true to me? And this is where we start to work with the process around waiting and sitting in the darkness, and inviting in more curiosity. We start to build up our personal power, our personal strength, and be like, okay, I know it's really uncomfortable to sit here right now. I'm a little 5-year-old, twiddling my thumbs, wanting to itch. I have ants in my pants. Are we done yet? Keep sitting. Okay, what can I do? You can go play. You can go do something else. Go live. Go have fun. But don't touch that fishing rod. Leave it there. Why? Because it's in alignment with you, right? But can it be ready now? Did the fish bite yet? No. Okay, go play. Don't worry about it. But go play. And so we get to work up this skill and we get to work up this invitation. This is when we go back to truly living a life that feels like you're in vacation mode, is a self-led life. Because most of the world does not teach this. It does not have this as a value of something where you feel really expanded. Instead, a lot of the world is like, I'm going to follow the path of safety and security that other people have walked before me. And this is one paradigm, one lifestyle that you can opt into. But sometimes those lifestyles are not in full alignment with people, which is why they give up certain parts and they start sacrificing, and they don't get really curious because they're like, I'm on this path, I've committed to this, I must stay this way. And a lot of times what that path has is a lot of predictability. And therefore these people, when you're on a path of predictability, you don't really have to worry about the darkness. You don't have to worry about the uncertainty. So they don't have to worry about the darkness and the uncertainty, because what they're saying is they choose consistency, they choose stability. And so you get to play within these metrics that keep you safe. But playing within these metrics might just it might prevent you from being able to tap into the ecstatic highs, the potentially deeper lows. And so when we're in the darkness, we might experience the darker lows. But also the skill, the plus side of being in the darkness is you also have higher places to go. So does that land? Okay. So it's with each decision, there's a pro and a con. And that's really what I wanted to get at, is where like we get the choice to be able to choose how much we want to play. And a lot of times people can say like, that seems like a really risky life or a really risky decision. And you get to say, it might be risky to you, but also a downside for me is that I don't get exposure to the massive upside. And that was one thing for me that I was like, you guys feel like your life is capped, like you're only half living. Like you've built so much safety in, and you're so fearful of failing that you don't even want to test how resilient you could actually possibly be. Which is why I felt like a lot of people in my life were riding on the safety path. And I kind of chucked those safety measures out to be like, let's actually explore. Let's open up the menu of life, see what else is out there. What do I actually value? So getting to the final bit, let me see if there's anything else that we would like to wrap around with. Do you have any questions that are fiery and on the mind? Feel free to drop them into the comments. And so a lot of this, how do you know when to take a larger risk? Good question. Okay. Oftentimes, when a larger risk, when I notice if I'm asking myself, is it time to take a larger risk? The answer is probably yes. So it's like, if it's sitting on the attention, it's sitting here where it's like, there's a larger risk, I'm ready to take it. I'm ready, but I'm scared. That's where you get to choose. Are you going to choose the scared, or are you going to be like, I'm ready. I know I'm never going to be fully ready, but I'm ready enough. I'm ready enough to at least be like, let's take a taste. Is today the day? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. For me, honestly, teaching this masterclass was one of those things where I was like, for me, I felt really, really rushed. Where the idea came in on Monday. I was like, I have to get it out before the holiday. I have to get out before 4th of July. I know that I was like, in my mind, I have to do this. I'll only keep pushing it down the road if I keep going. But there's something about it. I just need to get this out there into the world. People can always watch the replay. I can always redo it, but I need to at least go there. I need to approach the risk, the scary thing for me. I need to go there and dance with it and play. And so I like to ask myself, like, have this little internal conversation where I'm like, are we going to go for it? What's holding us back? Is it just the mind? When are you going to feel better about it? And this is where we get to actually get into aligned action. And this is where I find that everything, like what we, once again, going back to the how and the why, so this is where we'll start to bring it all back together, is we use the information, the how, so we see how reality is created. We see that it's thoughts that we've created in our mind, and then we actually have to take those thoughts and do little actions towards it. So you're like, I have a thought, it's been sitting there in my mind, but the only way for this thought to go away or to expand is for me to actually take an action towards it. So it's like thought comes in. For me, I'm like, this masterclass seems really cool. I should do this. If I didn't act on it and just said, this is really cool, you know what it would do? It would fester within me. It would sit there and sit there and go, Whitney, you need to get this out there. And I'd say, next week, next week, next week. And the longer that I sit on it, the more energy that it gets. But sometimes it's not good energy. Like it's like the fear energy of like, you know, if you did this last week, it would have been so much easier. You know, if you did it last week. And so when we start to have this conversation with ourselves around risk and taking actions in time, we get to notice how the hows, we notice that the energy likes to be in motion. The energy likes to create something, it likes to move forward. But if we sit on the energy and we hold it back, it festers inside. It's like it battles against itself. It's like it creates its own little universe. And yeah, and so it's being able to get that out there. Be like, I know it's really uncomfortable. I'm taking action and moving forward to it. And hey, if I don't like it, I can back up. But I actually have to move forward in some direction. And so this comes when we're looking at taking the action forward. So we use the curiosity, we use the action, the curiosity being the how. We understand how things come into place, and we understand that we need to take action to actually bring the things into alignment into our world. The aspect going back to even working, where it's like, we're not actually ever giving up work or creating or interacting with the world when we're living in vacation mode. But instead what we're doing is we're living a life in alignment. We're saying everything fits into the puzzle here. I feel like everything is in alignment with me. I've tossed out the things that I don't like. And if I haven't tossed things out, then I just haven't discovered that they don't belong to me. And so as we've done this, we're like, I understand what aspects of my life I love for me. Now that I understand how, I also understand how I have to use courage and aligned action to bring these things into my world. And all the hows are aligned to the why, so you can now use them to say, to move them forward, I need to act on these things now. Why is that? Because it's in alignment with my dream, with the feeling in my body that I really desire to feel. And if we have this little intuitive hit that says, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, but I can't. It's going to stay in your attention span in your mind until it shifts. So I do like to say sometimes it's not ready. Like sometimes the courage that we have isn't quite ready and quite there yet. And that's okay. You can sometimes sit on it. So it's being patient with yourself enough, but it's also saying, hey, I have enough energy to move it forward into fruition. Go do it. When that energy is there, go do it. So all of this is about our energy. I like to see it all as energy flowing and energy in motion. If there's an energetic spot that's stuck, whether it's in our body, whether it's in our mind, it creates this sense of burden to us where we're like, I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I should be doing these things. And the shoulds then build up and they prevent us from actually acting in alignment. And so what we really want is harmony in our life, harmony and alignment and energetic flowing. And therefore we have better thoughts, better creations, and so on and so on and so on. So feel free to drop in any other questions, but I am just about ready to wrap things up because all this comes back to our feeling and coming back to that sensation that we really desire around that vacation-like vibe that we're going for. The vacation-like vibe comes with ease. It comes with whatever you really experience when you're on vacation. So remember, go back to that feeling. If you're not sure what is like why you're really doing the things or what you really desire, ask yourself, what do I desire to feel? What are the mechanisms that are behind things for me? Like some of the things that you guys said earlier were freedom, adventure, possibilities, new experiences, freshness, spontaneity. Go back to what that reason is for you. Feel it in your body. We're bringing ourselves into alignment. We're having the how match with the why, so we're driving on the same road. So with this, yes, good. This feels like a vacation. I'm so delighted. This was like the whole objective is we're transporting ourselves into a new world. And I find that's really what we can do with information and how the hows can set us free. So I'm very excited that one of the next things following up this is I am releasing a program that is a group container experience. It is called Aligned Action, and it's a 1 month program, so a 4-week program where we get to have weekly calls, and you get to have a Voxer group chat where everyone in the group gets to interact and talk about the things that they're doing. Therefore, we all get to do aligned action together and things that are in alignment and in harmony with us. So really what it is, it's a container where it's like encouraging more of us to be able to feel courageous and do things together. And so the early bird rate for this program will be $222. Program includes weekly calls, group messaging. So everyone we get to have coaching, go back and forth. It's accountability. So we're all shifting into alignment with ourselves. And we'll be layering into more concepts around this, around how reality is created and working through some of those limiting beliefs so that we get to specifically look at different aspects of reality and perceptions and stories that we have and hold to be able to work through those and create things that set us free. So it's like setting us free, creating something new, and it unlocks more possibilities for us. So this program will be beginning the end of July, and I'll be posting more information. So the early bird rate will be up for the next few weeks or so. I'll be posting more information, but this is the first sneak peek into it. So if you're curious and you would like more information, shoot me a message. I'll also be dropping some things on social media coming up pretty soon. So thank you so much for being here in this masterclass. I have really enjoyed the energy, the interaction, and I can definitely feel how everything has really clicked into place. So yeah, I'd love to hear how things click into place for you this week, and just what you're feeling following this. So let me know if anything comes your way that you'd love to share with. I love celebrating things that click into place and bring any sense of ease. So feel free to share anything with me or share this with any other friends who are interested. I just really love being in this space and being able to help more seekers really elevate to the next level and bring their dreams into reality. So without further ado, I feel like there's no more questions. So thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you guys very soon on any of the other socials. So have a great night.